lunch breakers and takers, do us a favor. Take a minute to hit that like and subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos in the future. All right. First of all, I want to send a shout out to the fellas over at Panthers Nation Podcast. Thank you for having us on your show the other day. And if you're not subscribed to them, make sure you check them out. You know, they cover all things Panthers, man. Rashad and David, man, they really break down that team. And they give good draft coverage. Like they break down tape on all these draft prospects. So make sure you follow them. Panthers Nation Podcast. Salute to you guys. So, you know, we discussed some possible, we discussed our QB situation, or your guys' QB situation, and some possible targets coming up. So, you know, we just kind of want to break down, you know, what the team could be looking at.
Yeah, all of them, all the targets. Yeah, they're according to reports, the Panthers are in on everyone. You know, they made a pretty serious push for Matt Stafford. Thankfully, that fell through. You know, they brought in Dwayne Haskins before he signed in Pittsburgh. There's talk about them, you know, being interested in Mitchell Trubisky. You know, obviously from the end of the season, there's been a ton of talk about them wanting to make a major push for Deshaun Watson. Really, the message that they're sending, you know, I said it on the Panther Nation podcast. I think that Tepper really just wants people talking about Carolina. Yeah. And so he kind of wants, you know, to have that kind of mystery out there. And, oh, you know, everybody loves a quarterback story, right? Like a quarterback change. Yeah. But the other message they're sending is they don't really like Teddy. You know, and I think it's, you know, the guys on Panther Nation podcast really made the point that they're just being extremely disrespectful to Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah. And for no real reason. Right. You know, as far as where they're actually going to go with quarterback, I think that they will make a push for Deshaun Watson and ultimately fail. I think they'll get cold feet and not want to pay the price, which, you know, I think they should.
But also, I want to interject for a second. It could also be Deshaun might say, I don't want to go there. Because remember, Deshaun ultimately controls where he wants to go. And like we talked about with how to treat Teddy Bridgewater, look, it's important that you handle these things correctly because you didn't handle Cam Newton properly. You're not handling Teddy Bridgewater properly. You know, quarterbacks look at that, and you're talking about a quarterback that has full control over where he goes. Yeah. He could easily look at that and be like, nah, I don't want to go there.
And it's not even just the quarterbacks. They didn't handle Steve Smith properly. They didn't handle Jordan Gross properly. They didn't handle Julius Peppers properly.
Or Greg Olsen, in my opinion.
Yeah, or Greg Olsen. Yeah, absolutely. They have a real problem with handling their all-time greats on the way out, which seems like a really easy thing to take care of properly, and they just can't do it. Yeah, through two owners now, they can't do it. But you know, that, I mean, all that is neither here nor there. Like I said, we're not at that point yet. They're still talking about making their push for Deshaun Watson, right? And you know, allegedly 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 defensive starters, which I mean, it is a lot, absolutely. Yeah. But he is an elite quarterback, right? So if you believe in Matt Rule and you believe in Fitterer, you believe in this coaching staff, and you know, and you think they know what they're doing and they know how to build a team, and they want Deshaun Watson, you give it up. You know, like it's really, really difficult to get that quarterback position right. And if you can get it right, it makes everything else much easier. Yeah, you know, if you get Deshaun Watson, few years from now, you're not gonna care what they gave up to get him in there.
Yeah, David over on Panthers Nation podcast made a good argument why you shouldn't give up that much for him because look, the O-line. I mean, you're talking about 3 starters that could be gone, right? This offseason. Yeah. So it's like you're gonna spend all those picks and money on him, and then you can't protect him. Well, you know that's why you're gonna have like you said, if you have faith in this organization. You push them to get Deshaun Watson and have faith that they're going to fix that problem in the off season. Start out one by signing Taylor Moton, right? And then you won't have a first round pick or a second. What do they say? 2 firsts, 2 seconds. That's what they want. Yeah. That's gonna be So it's gonna be tough. Yeah, I see David's point, man. It's gonna be tough building that O line back up this off season. But do what you can. Deshaun Watson knows how to play with a bad O-line, unfortunately, right? Like he knows how to play with a bad O-line. So it's just one of those things where you tough it out for a year, and then, you know, next year really focus on protecting them. You already have weapons there, and you can have
Yeah.
someone.
Well, yeah, and I don't know what they feel about Greg Little at this point. I mean, it was just a couple of years ago they drafted him to be the left tackle of the future,
Yeah.
and he kind of disappeared, really.
Right.
But he's still there. Daly's been a serviceable lineman. He's played tackle and guard for them. He's not great, but they took him in the 6th round, right?
Yeah.
So, you bring back Moton, and you go into free agency and you grab a couple of cheap vets, they'll be able to protect him. I'm not the best O-line,
Right.
but you'll be able to protect him. And it's not a 1-year process, right? I mean,
No,
they're not a player away. They're not 1 year away. But like I said, getting Deshaun Watson in there makes everything else much, much, much easier. Yeah. And if you can, obviously, you try to add Christian McCaffrey to the deal and say, hey, instead of one of these picks or instead of one of these defensive players, we'll give you Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Houston just hired David Culley. They're not going to have Deshaun Watson. So I'm sure he would love to have a guy who can carry the ball a few hundred times and catch 100 passes for you.
Absolutely. And if you're giving a first round pick, you would think they're going to use that on a quarterback. So
yeah,
have a nice young weapon for their own quarterback. Speaking of, sorry, let's go to some other options that Carolina's looking at. They could keep their pick and possibly draft a quarterback.
Yeah. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is going first.
Yeah.
I think Zach Wilson goes second. I think Justin Fields will also be gone. So I think really the only option at 8 will be Trey Lance. I mean, if for some reason Fields drops to them, or they could possibly trade up. Yeah, I mean Fields would be. I think that would be a positive pick there for Carolina. But I think ultimately, I don't think they get Deshaun Watson. I think they stay at 8, and I think that they should take Trey Lance, and I think they should let him sit for a year. Sit behind Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, I know we talked about how disrespectful they've been to Teddy, and obviously they want him out. I'm sure he doesn't want to be around those guys either at this point, but he is under contract.
Yeah.
So, like I said, for me, the ideal outcome here would be drafting Trey Lance or Justin Fields if he happens to fall, and let him sit for a while behind Teddy Bridgewater and develop for as long as you can. Outside of that, man, the options get kind of ugly,
Yeah. See, but this is why it's important to treat your players right.
Yes.
Because we both believe that Teddy Bridgewater was never, they never really wanted him to be like the franchise quarterback. He was just kind of like a gap quarterback. And I think he kind of understood that to a certain extent too. But it's all on how you treat the players, right? If you show them support, right? Say, hey, look, we got all the faith in you. You can go into this offseason and say, hey, look, we're going to draft this guy. He's not ready to play yet. So look, don't worry about it. You're going to play out this contract, and we want you to play well. Kind of like the Al Smith situation. When they brought in Pat Mahomes, it was all love. Al Smith understood what his role was. He understood, hey, it's a business. They're going to go with the young guy, but they give me a chance to put something on tape so another team could pick me up. And he went to Washington and got a nice contract from Washington. Could be the same situation with Teddy Bridgewater if they play the cards right, but I think they burnt that bridge, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they have as well. Yeah. But like I said, if you don't get Deshaun Watson, I mean, I don't want any part of Carson Wentz. No. I don't really want any part of Derek Carr. I mean, listen, I like Marcus Mariota, but I don't want to trade for him and try to make him the franchise quarterback right now.
Right.
I don't want any part of Matt Ryan. I don't want any part of Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a lot of guys out there, but not a lot of good options. I don't want Andy Dalton. Right. So if you're not going to get the deal done, if you're not going to go all in right now at quarterback and get the deal done with Deshaun, I think the best option is to draft Trey Lance or Justin Fields if one of them is there. And man, if not, you got to take an O-lineman and just say, you know what, we're kicking it down the road a year. At quarterback.
Yeah.
We talked a lot on the Panther Nation podcast. Dave was not a fan of Mac Jones, and I agree. And
I'm
like
not
you
either.
can't, no, you can't do that. All that's going to do is set you back.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to have, for me, quarterback is pass fail in the draft. Right. Like, so if you're looking for a franchise quarterback, it's either you think this guy can do it and you're willing to take him at 8, or you think he can't and you don't draft him at all. right?
Yeah.
So if there's not a guy there at 8 that you think, hey, this guy can be our franchise quarterback, then just don't bother taking one. You have Teddy already. Roll with Teddy for another year and see what the options look like next season.
Yeah, no, I agree. So they're gonna make a move, man. And it was reported that they tried to go after Matt Stafford. That would have been a disaster.
Yes,
That would have been a disaster. I mean, you got to really think about it, right? People they overrate Matthew Stafford. It's disgusting, right? You got to think they got rid of Cam because they thought Cam was finished, but he's been banged up because they don't protect him.
Yeah.
And he managed to carry that team for years. He had a great career there, but I mean, he put that team on his back. And he's had teams where it wasn't a lot of talent there, not a lot of protection, not a lot of talent in the pass game. Always had running backs, but not a lot he was working with, and he still performed. Matt Stafford has been in a place where they've done nothing but stack that team with talent around him. Were they good teams? No. They had good coaches? No, not always. Sometimes they had a solid coach, but he has always had talent around him. And in fact,
at the receiver positions,
yeah, even running backs. Again, running backs, not the best running backs, but he's had some solid running backs. He's had protection, right? So there's no excuse on his end. But he's a loser. I mean, I said it before. However you want to define a loser, like he fits that description. He's a loser. He has a losing career record. He has a losing record against winning teams, and he has a losing playoff record. He's never won in the playoffs. He's 12 years into his career, going to his 13th year, and he hasn't won a playoff game. And like I said before, even if he went 16-0 with the Rams this year, he still wouldn't have a winning record.
Yeah. We mentioned on the show the other day that he's got a long list of teams that he's not willing to play for, considering how little he's actually accomplished in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
But he's Matt Stafford, and people love his arm, and they think he's super talented, so he can do whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Thankfully, he ended up in LA. I don't think they're in on Carson Wentz really. I don't think that they'll.
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get a deal done for any of these other kind of mediocre quarterbacks that are being thrown around.
Right.
So I really do think it's going to come down to Deshaun or the draft. And like I said, if they end up with Trey Lance at number 8, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I would be happy with that, but definitely you got to work on the O-line, or at the very least you got to smooth things over with Teddy so he's on the same page and he can go out there for this year and take them hits. Unfortunately,
yeah.
Well, I mean, look, all things can happen at once. You keep Teddy out there as a starter for another year. You re-sign Taylor Moton. You draft some more O-linemen, with your other draft picks, and hopefully you hit on them, right? Make that O-line, get another solid veteran. Make that O-line solid. Still let Teddy go out there and play. And, at some point you feel like you need to make the switch, that's fine. But do those things that good organizations do when you're trying to, when you're trying to develop your quarterback and build a strong franchise.
Yeah. For the first time in your existence, be a good organization, draft a quarterback, and let him sit and develop.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I
agree with that. No.
It's not going to happen.
Because
Matt Rule hates him some Teddy Bridgewater. He's the only guy in the world who can be in a room with Teddy Bridgewater and say, "I dislike you."
That's true. Everywhere else he's gone, they love him.
Yeah.
That's an interesting take. All right, so like I said, we're gonna find out soon what they're gonna do. They're definitely gonna make a quarterback move. So I think they dodged a bullet not getting Matt Stafford, right? Because you had to give up picks. You're paying money, and it wouldn't have worked out. It just wouldn't have. Carson Wentz is still out there. He's been rumored to go to the Bears, but talks on that seem like they've cooled down. So we'll see what's going on with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like B said, Deshaun Watson or the draft. So we'll find out.